Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on PoliWine today, where we take a dive into stories pulled from all forms of media and have fun while breaking it down. So let's get into it, shall we? Today, let's start off with a little bit of easygoing, no-brainer kind of stuff, because things have been a little kind of crazy in the world, a little hectic in life. So let's start off with the guilty pleasure TV, the fun stuff. So let's shoot on over to Bravo. We had The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We are still going on with a fair amount of the Kyle and Mauricio drama, right? I don't think Mauricio knows that Kyle is over him, but she is definitely over him. You still have that whole Morgan Wade situation. We don't know really what's going on. I know they say they're good friends and she's supporting her in her music career, but it's an interesting dynamic of friends, that's for sure. But that whole drive in that car that Mauricio and Kyle had, going to that charity function of Dorit's, was just uncomfortable to watch, right? Like, it was uncomfortable. Kyle doesn't know that she's annoyed with him. She is so over him. Every time we'd ask a question, she would, you get the sigh, the deep breath, the eye roll. It's like a teenager in your car. It's a lot. But she couldn't stand to be next to him. She couldn't stand to hear him breathe. She didn't want to be in that car. She could not get out of that car fast enough. And they do separate on the show. I don't think they are, I don't believe, I'm not sure, I'm not 100%. I don't believe they have done anything legal yet. You do see previews that later on in the season, they do sit their kids down. They talk about how they're separating, they're taking time away. But I don't know if anything's been legally done yet. I have no idea. And please feel free to let me know if anything has changed. Then you have Sutton and the new girl, was it Anne-Marie, that are still going on her whole esophagus issue, but I'm hoping that is over and done with, because we've all heard enough about that. Erica Jane is still trying to go to Vegas and do her residency. You have Garcelle, who's two boys that are similar in age. They're growing up really quickly. And that's tough for her. That's different, when that whole dynamic change and your kids are older and they don't need you as much, and it's tough. It's not easy. It can be a tough pill to swallow. That's for sure. Then you have Crystal, who finally has made her move, letting everyone know that she is so not into the new girl. She called her a name the other day. And so Crystal finally has spoke up for the season. So yay, Crystal. Welcome to the party. You finally came in way at the end of the middle of the season, but definitely it's been quite some time in the season before Crystal's really done anything. So it's nice to see her finally step in. So that's Beverly Hills. Why don't we go over to Salt Lake City? Salt Lake City, we had part 2 of the reunion, part 2. And of course, Monica has still stole the show. She's still in command. She's still has all the big moments of the reunion. I do feel a little bad, I have to say, for Lisa. I think that she's really tried to be a better friend this year to a lot of the other cast members. But man, she has just taken it left and right. She's broken down so many times crying because people have been yelling at her. She thought it was one person that was doing one thing bad to her, and it could have been somebody else that was doing another thing to her. And it's just, I feel for her. So she's really been having a tough season, in my opinion. And it's kind of you can see her upset and her frustration coming out on the reunion. But it's definitely, one thing is for sure, it has definitely been a Monica show. Meredith hasn't said much. Neither has Whitney, thank God, because she doesn't really need to say much. That comment, I'm sorry. I am so sorry to bring that back up, but I couldn't tell you. I laughed out loud with it. She called Meredith she said to somebody that Meredith was a trampoline with eyes because she has so much Botox. I literally laughed out loud, like belly laughed out loud. I'm sorry, it's terrible, but that was a really funny comment. Mary came back on for a little bit just to see that everybody was still upset with her. And she's angry. She is still pissed about the other seasons. And so she came back hot and has let everyone know that she's still mad. She is still mad. But still love you, Mary. You're still good. Now, what about Potomac? Potomac happened this season. Karen, love your triple 20. Keep working with it because it's funny. I think you should trademark that. That is hilarious. It is fantastic. I love you, Karen. Ashley, okay, enough. Candace and Robin. At the end of the episode, you see them say, "We're done. We're no longer going to try and work this friendship out. It's over. It cannot be repaired." So that's kind of where they left. And the new girl is trying to work her way in. And that girl loves her champagne. It's hilarious. I like it. Wendy is promoting her book this week and, trying to start her talk show. She had another producer. I think she said it was a producer that she had, but then she ended that relationship with her, and now she is looking, and I think maybe hired a new team in this episode. So we'll see where her talk show goes because it's been a little hard for her to, I think, get that one off the ground. But Potomac, I always love you. You're always good. Giselle, love you too. Seeing your daughters grow up and getting big. And they're getting ready to go off to college. That must be so sad. Giselle, I feel for you. Let's move over to The Traitors. Have you seen The Traitors? I watch it on Peacock. I don't like commercials. I think you can watch it on NBC. But that is a show I really like. I really like that show for a competition show, I must say. To see all the contestants. First of all, you have 3 traitors. Start us with 2. Out of all the group of contestants, everybody's faithful. They want to work together. Their intentions are to win. There are 2 traitors to start off with, 2 people that are bad and that are trying to sabotage. And each week they have to murder. So in every episode, they have to murder a contestant. And they also, the 2 traitors, brought one more traitor in who was a faithful, but now they brought them in as a traitor. And now they are, the third person is actually trying to, get in with the faithful and help trying to slowly murder the other ones off because there is whoever wins at the end, either being a faithful or a traitor, gets money at the end. And so, but the thing that I like the best about the show is every episode, when they start off, somebody was murdered from the previous episode. The traitors will murder one contestant. But then, towards the end of the episode, then they have a competition part where they have a task or a challenge to do, where everybody has to work together and get a challenge. And then you can get a shield. I think at each challenge, there is a shield that is offered, which would give a contestant immunity, so they will not be murdered. But then, after all of that on the show, then they have a round table. And then the table of your peers, the other contestants, get to vote you off. And the reasons that they vote people off, well, you looked at me the wrong way. You said something and I thought it sounded off, so I knew you were a traitor. Just to see the way that they change on each other, they turn and then have other people jump on the bandwagon and turn on them, and then just slowly start casting their votes. Who's going to be eliminated? And that round table is really my favorite part. Although, Alan Cumming, who is the host, your outfits are to die for, and I love seeing you walk in like you're doing a spin on the catwalk, and you work those outfits. They are everything. They are great. There is a new show. I'm not really into like dating shows. I'm not really into like The Bachelor. I'm not really into like The Bachelorette, Temptation Island. Is there a Love Island? There's plenty. There was one on HBO Max. Was it F-Boy Island? That one? Was it Nikki Glaser as the comedian and host? That was pretty good. I actually like that one. But for the most part, and there's a ton of like Love is Blind. There are a ton of the dating shows. Not really into. However, there is a new one that just came on TLC called Lost in Translation. And I got to tell you, it's a pretty good idea, actually. I think it's from the creators, and I do believe it's on TLC. Please check your local listings, time, which channel, but I think it's TLC. But I want to say I think it's from the producers who did 90 Day Fiancé, which they've seen it all. When they go, they have some that are 90 Day here in the States. Then they have that show, the 90 Day Fiancé, the other way, where the American goes to the other country to be with the spouse or the individual they met so they can prep to get married. So it's a really great idea. So this one, Lost in Translation, where you have 3 young male contestants there, and they're looking for love. And they have I want to say 20 or more girls that are all international, from all over, and not one of the girls speak English. And the 3 boys do not speak any other language other than their native tongue, English. So the boys have no idea that the girls do not speak English. At some point, after the girls get there and they're trying to hang out with each other, but nobody can really understand each other, the hostess walks in, or the host, who's this female, and she gives them it's this newer technology where she gives them an earpiece, the female contestants, and a smartphone. And as she is speaking, the host, it is translating what she is saying in real time and all the various languages of all the contestants from all over the world in live, in real time. So it's really cool, actually, this technology. And the host was saying that it's new and they're trying it out and they were going to try it for the show. And it's really, really cool. You can see the girls as soon as they get their ears in and they can finally understand what somebody is saying. You can just see their face light up. Like it's a game changer for them. But when they meet the men have no idea that the girls can't understand them. And so it was really funny to see the guys first figure it out, like, oh, like we have no idea what any of these girls are saying, not one. So a lot of their, the kind of the crutches that they use for their pickups are not available to them. Like there's this one guy that's really tall and just nothing but muscle. He's just so thin, and you can tell he works out nonstop, just ripped. He actually was saying as soon as he met it, he's like, well, I like to say I'm a talker and I'm a listener, and and that's just gone. Like I don't have that now that they can't understand me. So it's really fun. So he's kind of coming in at like a different angle and trying to see how to try and figure it out and still how to be charming when his old go-to tactics are gone is really kind of fun to watch. And then he said, I was a Marine, and as a Marine, we are trained to prepare for any different situation or something to that effect. So as a former Marine, I think I've got this. I've been trained for it. And I'm like, you have no idea what is about to come your way, because you have different women from different countries, from different cultures, and you don't know what they like, what they're used to, their customs, and it's going to be a big crash course. So it should be interesting. And then I can't wait to see the drama amongst the girls, because right now the girls can't understand each other. But the way that they're trying to flirt with the men and put themselves out there and dancing and flirting and stuff like that, even though they can't understand it, is really funny. And you can already see a couple of the other girls getting a little jealous and getting a little annoyed. And so I'm kind of excited. I can't wait to see the drama, especially when, and there's a few already on the show that look like they are feisty and they are wired and rip-roaring and ready to go. That is for sure. Like they have their moment on TV. They're looking good and they are ready to go in and make their mark. So let's sit back, let's grab the popcorn, and let's grab it because it's going to be good. So that's Love in Translation. Now, this show is actually, that I'm about ready to talk about, has actually wrapped up. It's kind of hard to find. But if you have not watched this show, I highly recommend it. I love it. I found this show during COVID. This is another dating show, but this has a little bit of a different twist. Have you heard of Love at First Sight, Australia? Have you? You don't know? If you haven't, please look it up. It's a little bit hard to find. Sometimes I have had trouble sometimes finding the whole season, though I don't know which channel it's on. I watch it on Hulu, so I don't know. Is it maybe Lifetime? I don't know if it's TLC, if it's Lifetime. It's one of those channels, but I watch it on Hulu. I can only find it there. But that show is great. I'm not so much into Married at First Sight, the show here in the States, but I don't know how I came across it. But that show is great. The drama between the couples is really on a whole other level. You have three of the experts. You have like a psychiatrist or a psychologist, pardon me. You have a love expert. I think you used to have a sex expert. I don't know if it's still a sex expert on there, but there's three experts on there. And they are hilarious in the way that they handle the situation, because everything's kind of thrown at them in every situation. And every couple's dynamic, it's funny. But they have these dinner parties where they kind of check in, where all the couples that are still in the season get together. And the dinner table is everything. There's fights, there's drama. But last season, there was this one contestant, this one guy, and his name was Harrison. This guy, I'm telling you, as a female, as a mother, and as a wife, this is who we tell our friends, our girlfriends, our daughters, nieces. This is the type of man that you need to avoid. He's cute. And maybe there's moments of charming. Didn't really see that on the show. But the manipulation. This man was such a manipulator. And the way he would twist things and mind mold his now wife that he met at the altar and just mess with her and just spin it and confuse her was just something to see. I'm telling you, watch it, because, and then if you have a friend that's a female that's having issues with relationships or wants to just start dating or is dating, whatever they're doing, make them watch this guy Harrison, because you do not want to end up with him. Great for the show. Loved watching him. But every dinner party because everybody came for him. He held his own. And for a long time in the season, he really kind of stole the show. But there was this one girl, Melinda, who was on the show. She was great. And she kind of held his feet to the fire every episode. She smelled bullshit a mile away. She called him out on his BS, and every dinner party, she just nailed him, and rightfully so. And he held his own, but then at the end, like, he slowly started to break other people down, and they would turn on him at the end. But watching that guy, like, throw a grenade towards other couples and just of drama, and then just watch it go off and laugh, smirk right there in front of the other people that he's upset and broken up relationships. And what a great character. Terrible human being. Guy you never want to date, but great for the show. So Love at First Sight, Australia. That's one of the other love relationship shows I watch. But I'm telling you, that is a great one. The dinner parties are fantastic. And I don't know what happens in Australia. I don't know if it's the too much hot sun. I don't know what it is. But it is a whole other level of drama on that show. And I got to tell you, I like it a lot. When I first saw it many seasons ago, several seasons, like I said, it was during COVID, this guy was in a really toxic relationship. Whomever he married, it was definitely not working out, and he could not get out of the relationship fast enough. And he said this line about his then wife, and it will never leave me. He said something to the effect like, if she were the last person on earth and I had to walk and the earth was on fire and I could not get away from her and I'd have to run away faster and faster, and my feet were burned and I couldn't run any further, you know what I'd do? I'd cut my feet off and I'd run further. Now, please pardon my really bad Australian accent, but when that guy said that, I had to stop and pause and think to myself, I'm like, I have not heard that. I've never heard anyone say that. And now I'm interested. I have to watch. And I did watch. And they got me. And I love it. And John, one of the therapists or the experts, love you. You are great. The way you handle the way you handled Harrison this year, fantastic. But I like everybody on the show, all the experts. But John, you really, really cracked me up every season, but this past season, handling Harrison, you really got me. Now, let's jump into another show that just came out, and it's kind of twisted, and it'll start leading us into kind of like a good segue into kind of like the next kind of topics that we're going to go into today. So have you seen the HBO series True Detective? It's been on, I think that it started about 10 years ago. The first season was with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. And that was really kind of, it was set in Louisiana. It had kind of like it was definitely a crime mystery, but there was some weird kind of like, it's been a long time, like voodoo-y kind of cult kind of twist behind it, and mystery and suspense, and it was good. I personally liked it. I really liked it. They've had several other seasons. This fourth season just started this past week, and Jodie Foster is in it. Yes, Jodie Foster. She is back. We have not seen her in a long time, and usually when she is in something, it's going to be pretty good because she doesn't pick every script. She's definitely very selective with her scripts. And so for her to be in this and be out of the camera or in front of the camera, I should say, for a long time, you know this has got to be a good script. And the other scripts of the other seasons have been good, but this one is really fascinating. So this new season, Jodie Foster is a police officer in Alaska, and it looks so cold in this show. It must have been very challenging to film this show because they do it when it's all darkness all day long. That time of the winter when it's completely dark all day, you do not have any sunlight. So this mystery, this occurs at this like scientific lab that they have in the middle of nowhere in Alaska, where they're doing this new type of research and studies, where you have several different scientists, where it starts off with something bizarre happens. And next thing you know, boom, all the scientists are gone. They can't find them, but there's like this tongue left behind in this lab. But the scientists are all gone, and it's the middle of winter. It's complete darkness all day, and they can't find them. So the cops are called in. Jodie Foster comes in, and it just kind of takes this weird, twisty turn from there. And like I said, it's also kind of interesting to me because this is completely a foreign concept to me, for where you're in an environment where it's darkness 24/7 all day for a certain percentage of the year. That is just absolutely bizarre to me. And they keep talking it a day of night. That's how they keep, they'll talk about the day and the time of where they are and whatever scene they are in the show. But they'll say like the third day of night, the fourth day of night, which is just bizarre to me. But the first episode, really good, kind of twisted, but I like it. I like it a lot, and I can't wait for it. And it's going to be good. Like I said, Jodie Foster, and I like the suspense of it, and just the cold. Like the cold almost makes it uncomfortable to watch, but that's also what makes it so good. It adds that extra element behind the setting, and it just provides all that in the background of the show. And I really like it. It's going to be good. So moving on from like kind of that odd crime stuff from True Detective, let's kind of move into some other stories that I had read about, seen on TV, heard in the news. So let's talk about a couple stories that have come up recently. So I'm sure at this point you probably have all heard about the Gypsy Rose story. She is a girl, well, not a girl anymore, a woman now. I think she's in late 20s, early 30s. She was just released from prison from aiding her boyfriend, her then boyfriend at the time, for murdering her mother. Her mother had actually, who raised Gypsy on her own, or the father is alive, but he lived somewhere else and they were no longer married, so he wasn't in the picture very often. But she raised this girl, but she was telling everybody that she had all kinds of ailments and diseases and like terminal issues. Like she had like leukemia, and she had asthma, and she had developmental delays, and she had she wasn't able to walk. She was in a wheelchair. She had a feeding tube. Like she couldn't even eat. And in reality, the girl was absolutely fine. She did not have any of these ailments or conditions or diseases or any of this. But the mother was faking it and telling these doctors all these different stories. And she had moved around a lot. And the reason that she could get away with, lying to a lot of these doctors, because there's really no other way kind of to look at it that she really was being untruthful to the doctors, was saying that all the medical records were lost in Hurricane Katrina. She didn't have any way to get the information. So she was just telling the doctors and other medical professionals the medical history of her child, which was completely inaccurate, completely made up and false. So she had all these issues. And this girl, I mean, these medical procedures, she had surgeries, various medical procedures that had to be painful, uncomfortable. And the mother, this condition is called Munchausen by proxy, where they force the individual that they are taking care of to be ill, to have these conditions, and they tell everybody that they have these ailments for that individual to get the attention and the praise, and it's awful. And this poor girl, who's now a woman, Gypsy, suffered for her whole life. And not only that, like, the mom was falsifying her date of birth. So the girl really didn't even know how old she was. There is a mini series on Hulu that is actually about the Gypsy Rose story. There's several documentaries out now that she has been released, but there is actually a mini series on Hulu that came out several years ago, actually, on the Gypsy Road case, and it was called The Act. And Patricia Arquette actually played Gypsy Rose's mother. And Patricia Arquette, I have to tell you, nailed that type of unstable character. I pardon me for saying it that way, but the lady, the mother of Gypsy Rose in real life, obviously had this condition and had various, I don't know what kind of mental issues she had other than the Munchausen, but I'm sure there was other stuff. And I think they do talk about that in some of the documentaries, some of the other mental health issues that she may have had. But this miniseries, and what you know about in that's come out in the media, is that the Munchausen by proxy was the big major issue. And this girl suffered her whole life having unnecessary medical procedures, just all these appointments. And I mean, she had to shave her head. But going back to that miniseries, The Act, the girl who played the actual girl, Gypsy Rose, she did a fantastic job. But Patricia Arquette nailed that level of, pardon me, I hate to use this word, but pardon me, but just kind of crazy. She nailed it so good that I have to tell you, I will forever hear her say in that really Southern accent that Patricia Arquette said throughout that miniseries over and over and over. Gypsy. Oh, Gypsy. Patricia Arquette, you nailed it. I don't know. I don't think you got an award for that performance, but you probably should have got an award for that performance, because I will forever remember you as that character in that performance. I will, anytime, whatever role you are ever playing in any other movie, television show, theater, anything, I'm always going to hear in the back of my head, Gypsy, because you were just so good as that character. And like I said, the girl who played the actress or actor who played the girl Gypsy Rose did a fantastic job too. She really, really did. So if you have a chance, if you find that story interesting, you should definitely check out that docuseries. It was really, it was a good one. And like I said, there's been other documentaries that came out since then. She's been on the television, and she's been on the interview circuit all over things. I've seen her on podcasts. I've seen her on TV. I've seen her on the news. I mean, she's really been everywhere. So, she did get convicted of the crime. She did serve her time. She acknowledges that she was guilty when she's doing her interviews, but that she has been rehabilitated. She feels terrible for her part of the crime, but she does in many ways claim that it was a form of self-defense because she would never break out of that prison from her mother. Her mother was trying to keep her there. It was just it's interesting. But again, Patricia Arquette, great in that role. She is as good in that role as that, like, crazy is, to me, as Eric Bana was in Dirty John. I don't know if you saw that miniseries Dirty John with Connie Britton, but I really liked it. And I was always such a fan of Eric Bana. I thought he was super cute. I liked the movies that he's in. He was even the Hulk. How can you not like the Hulk? But he was so good at being so bad and just twisted in his performance of Dirty John. I just can't watch him again. He was just too good. He's too good. Anytime I see him in anything now, he's Dirty John. But that was a great performance. So good. That's another one. If you're sick, you have a couple days you can't do anything, I would watch that. Dirty John as well. The Act, Dirty John, Love at First Sight Australia, whatever you want. I promise, not going to steer you wrong. You're going to like it. At least get a good laugh out of it. So enjoy. So going on with that Munchausen by proxy story with the Gypsy Rose story and her mom, there is another story that came up in the media and sometime in the news about another form of another story about Munchausen by proxy. Now, here on PoliWine, I'd really like to play a game when we start talking about some of these strange stories that we hear from all over. I live in the Mid-Atlantic area, and there is a radio station. I don't know if they still do it. They used to do it, but it was a great game when kind of a strange crime story would come out, and you would have to guess what state did that story come out of it. Was it Florida? Was it Ohio? Was it Texas? And Iowa makes its way on there all the time because I don't know what it is. I don't know what some of the stories that come out of the states are just absolute insanity and just some of the best stupid criminal stories too. So, there'll be some other stories now and again from different parts of the country, but let's just kind of play the game because I tell you, Florida is the state where you can Google a guy in Florida and anything else will come up. Like any other bizarre story will come up and fill in the rest of that sentence if you Google it. If you haven't done the game, Google it because anything works. Anything works because anything happens in that state. Anything. So now we're going into the story. So think to yourself, what state could this story come out of? Could it be Florida, Ohio, Texas, and let's just even throw in Iowa? When we have an international story, usually Germany or one of the Scandinavian countries, Germany tends to usually take the cake, on kind of bizarre stories. But let's get into this. This one was the Munchausen by proxy. So there's another story that came out that was in the news the other day that a mother was, faking the fact her daughter had leukemia. Yes. And she was trying to get treatments for her in the hospital. And the mother was trying to, put herself out there and get all this fundraising money and help. A lot of these charities were trying to help them out, for their medical care, to help get the money to pay their bills, whatever it may be. So, trying to get all this charity. And I don't know if it was the nurse or someone kind of somehow something didn't click. It didn't sound right. So, like I said, I don't know if it's the nurse. I think it could have been the nurse, but somebody just caught it. Didn't sound right. And that person started doing a little digging, started making some phone calls, trying to figure out, do you know if this is accurate? This seems a little off. Do you know this? Come to find out, totally fabricated. This poor kid didn't have leukemia at all and was having to endure all these treatments. It's just awful. And so the cops are now involved. I should probably say allegedly, because I don't believe that this woman has had her day in court yet. I don't know. I'm just going to say allegedly just to be on the safe side. But yeah, poor kid. But that's after hearing all the stuff coming out with that whole Gypsy Rose story. Now you hear the story about this mother. And where do you think this story is? And I want to say, I think this little young girl was like 10, 11, somewhere around there, 10-ish, that this was happening to. Just awful. So what state do you think this came out of? Anyone? Ohio. Yes. Ohio, you claimed this one. Now, this is a awful story. Also, this in this city, this cop is on patrol, and I saw the video the other day in this story and it was the cop's body cam where he was driving down the street on patrol, and this guy who's walking down the street walks straight up to the cop car. The cop rolls down the window and, do you need anything? And the guy's like, you need to take me in. I just did something really, really bad. And the cop says to the guy, well, what did you do? And the guy said, I just killed 5 people. And the cop's like, hold on. Because not knowing what state of mind that guy was in at the time, not knowing if this could be true or not true, he just, needs to figure out what's happening in the situation. So you see on the body cam, the cop say, well, why don't you stand over there? I'm going to pull the car over and let's talk this out. So he gets out, he's talking to the guy, and the guy said, yes, I actually killed 5 people in this house, and you need to arrest me right now. So that cop, of course, calls into dispatch. This individual said that at this address, he committed this crime against 5 individuals, and you need to go see if this actually happened. So dispatch sends another cop car out, right? And in this video that I saw was the body cam footage of this second cop that was actually sent to the address of where the gentleman who stopped the first cop car on the street said this was the address. So he goes up to the address, and as he's pulling up to the house, he's met by a woman outside the house that is very much in a state of panic. And she said, oh my God, you're here. I got this phone call that something bad happened. I can't get a hold of anybody who's in this house. No one's picking up their phone. Nobody's answering the door. I'm really freaking out. You got to help me. And the cop's like, I heard that there was something that happened at this house. That's why I'm here. And you stand over here, and I'm going to go in and assess the situation. Well, oh my God. Sure enough, as soon as the cop walks in and you hear it on his body cam, he says, oh, bleep. Like, oh, fuck. And he walked into a crime scene. And yes, that individual who had stopped that first patrol officer in the car on the street and said, I did something bad. I just hurt 5 people. Well, he actually said, I just killed 5 people. Sure enough, he actually did. And I think at this one point there is one who survived. I believe it was a little girl. But he actually committed a crime against all these individuals in this house. And it was just awful. And the guy who stopped the cop just recently got out of prison for violent crimes. So, he said to the cops, he admitted to it. I should probably say allegedly anyway, just to be on the safe side. But I'm guessing he's still waiting his time in court. But he said right there to the cops, I don't know what the attorneys will say. I don't know which way it's going to go, which way they'll plead. I don't know if they'll go insanity or not. But he was just released from jail for previous violent crimes. So it's just an awful situation. This poor family that's just lost so many people in their family. Just awful, 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 awful. So where do you think this story came out of? What city? Well, I am sorry to say that also was Ohio. This happened in Cleveland, and just an absolutely terrible crime. Thank goodness that there was a cop out patrolling the streets at that time who actually just passed that individual. And, what to say is that we should be thankful at least that guy stopped the cop right away, because he didn't do it to anyone else. Who knows what was going through him, what was happening to him at that time for him to commit such a crime, and just awful, awful, awful. Just a terrible things. But thank goodness he's no longer on the streets. Just the worst story. Oh, terrible. So here's another bizarre story. This one actually is not in any of those states. This one's out of Missouri. Have you heard about this teacher who has just recently been arrested? Or she's going to say that she's innocent right now, so I'm going to say allegedly on everything, that she was just arrested for allegedly poisoning her husband with lily of the valley roots. I guess that this gentleman had been saying that his smoothies had been tasting weird. Some of the other stuff, it just didn't taste right. And he was definitely having some symptoms lately, like, GI issues. I think they said there's some vision, things like that. But he was just feeling sick. So, and he noticed that his smoothies were tasting weird. And then he remembered not that long before he had saw this bag in his house that had roots in it that said, with a label that said Lily of the Valley. Didn't really think of it much then, but, something that he wasn't used to seeing around the house, and then suddenly things are tasting weird, so he just thought something was off. So he eventually took one of his smoothies in to have it tested to make sure that he wasn't being poisoned. And sure enough, he was, in fact, being poisoned. And, of course, once he found out that it actually had this toxin in it, and she was grinding up the roots, which is the most toxic part of the plant. And I guess over a prolonged period of time, and if enough of this poison is consumed, it can do serious damage, if not kill you. So he was definitely experiencing symptoms. But, yeah. He turned in the smoothies. It was the smoothies. But yes, this was a Missouri teacher. So yeah, that one's a little bit off our other states, but interesting story nonetheless. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the show today. If there's anything that you would like to share with us, please go to our Instagram account at PoliWine Time, PoliWinetime, and we'll look over the stories, see if there's anything that we'd like to talk about on the show, and have some fun with it. There is a correction I do need to go back and fix. I do apologize. I kept calling the show Love at First Sight Australia. I do apologize. The show is called Married at First Sight Australia. We were talking about so many shows in the love genre that I got a little tongue-tied there. So correction. But please join us. Again, we're going to have some future guests. We're going to talk a little bit more hot topics, current events, and have fun while breaking it down. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good one. Bye. Do you enjoy having fun while talking about pop culture, current events, and hot topics? So do we at PoliWine. So join us while we have fun breaking it down and diving in deep. So let's get into it.